Richard Del Connor is the philosopher poet of the hippie generation.
All right. Richard Del Connor, philosopher poet, doing podcast number 23 of this series that we are in the halfway point of. I've got to go to 35, so I got 12 more to go of this series of podcasts in which I'm promoting my new debut album, Richard Del Connor, me the artist, and the record producer and the writer, and on the studio stuff, I'm performing all the instruments. I do the guitar, the bass, the drums, and then with the keyboard, I'm playing the trombones, actually. I had to sell all my trombones because I play flute. And it was just like, I love playing trombone, but anytime I played the trombone, I couldn't play flute for a week. It was like, it's like one or the other, and I had to get rid of the temptation, so I had to sell. And I had some beautiful trombones, and I had one bass trombone that I really never quite spent the time with. I always dreamed of, getting closer to that. Nice. It was a king. I had kings and cons, CONN. Anyway, trombones. But anyway, let's see. Where were we? This is the podcast number 23. And what's my introduction say? I kind of write different introductions for each one. Okay. All right, you ready? You're back for more heartbreak and inability to comprehend how love could be so much fun, and now it's hell. Laughing. It's better than sorrow. You got a choice. Crying or laughing. In fact, my cat used to freak out, my feral cat, when I was laughing. It thought I was crying. It would get really concerned, and I could tell it thought I was injured. I had to kind of not that it knows what crying is, except for my anime video, which has got all kinds of dramatic yelling and screaming all the time. But in terms of me, she's learned to accept my laughter, and sometimes she'll make a comment. She'll hear me laugh. She'll go, "Arr!" Like, I don't think she's laughing. I think maybe she's just making oh, glad you're happy thing, I think. So we'll see. We're still working out our communication skills. We've only known each other for almost 2 months. Okay, so where are we here? Today's song is I Can't Take No More, right? Yeah, I Can't Take No More. Oh, man. I like this song. I think this song, to me, I guess because I wrote it, it somehow expresses that feeling with the chords and the rhythm and this whole song, to me, represents my romantic angst. What's the worst I can feel? Well, that's this song. This just expresses it. So this is, you want to know my extremes, from Pieces of the Sky to I Can't Take No More. Because of the romantic extremes of the reality of romance. Okay, and what do I have to say? Well, it doesn't make sense how everything just goes wrong when it was so good. Or does it make sense? This is the Richard Del Connor, philosopher poet podcast, where we will now delve deep into these human issues of love and that crap that comes later. Man. Sheesh, why? There have been a couple of girls I've broken up with on very good terms. They have. It just went our different ways. Their circumstances. But no, if it breaks up by natural, what do they call that? When things happen organically. If you're organically breaking up, then it's going to be hate. And there's a coming up here, I think. Let me see if I can bounce up to there yet. Today's featured song is I Can't Take No More by Richard Del Connor. And that's me. Okay, now, I'm not going to quote other people. I'm only going to tell you what I believe is true. Okay, so I'm not going to get a bunch of mumbo jumbo from me. I'll try to edit that out. I could bounce along all kinds of misinformation that I've been handed down to me. All right, so anyway, hate equals love. So more love equals more hate. Now, I don't know how true it is all the time, but I do know that it's happened to me a couple of times, and that was the only explanation my friends and I could come up with, that she just loved me so much that she hated me so much. I just had to go from one to the other. Anyway, yeah. It's not nice to be hated or disliked by someone you still love. I didn't stop loving her. I don't remember ever not loving her. Just realized that, hey, my love isn't wanted here. Okay, so where were we? This was my first attempt at marriage. I mean, I've come close a few times, been kind of engaged, but we picked a date and everything. February 20th, 1981. I wrote down here. I think that's it. And the story of this is in the book. Okay, so here's another book I'm promoting now. Okay, new book by Richard Del Connor. It's called Season of Fours. Now, the Season of Fours is a kind of a concept of mine, and I've kind of still proven it true, but I haven't really put the stats on it, and I wish I could have more. I had to. Anyway, here's what it is. I was actually working at Bonita Studios, so we're talking about when I was 20 years old, so 1974, and I came out to the studio and I was coming, and I have this like notepad on my door, a yellow legal pad was screwed on there, you know, and a pen hanging there on a string or something so you can write notes. And there was nothing on there. And so I decided to write a poem, just like, well, let's see what comes out of my brain. Or I don't know what my motivation. I don't know if I knew what was in there or not. I can't remember for sure this moment. But I wrote this poem, Insecticide Soup. And that became the core, the foundation of my first book of poetry, Autumn Flavors, which I realized was about autumn, death, decay. Kind of things teenagers love to think about. So that was my decay period, my gothic. I went goth here. So anyway, that's what this poetry book was, and that poetry book went for a few years, and it has some kind of dark stuff about. Well, actually, it was pretty much done. Whatever it was. Now, and it has some dark stuff in it about stuff. To leave it at that. So that was my first book. Now, the next one I wrote after that was all romance. Now, in the 70s, I'm making all kinds of money. I'm a carpenter, so I've got more than I can spend, but not that much. I should have had higher aspirations, but I was surviving very comfortably. So I was quite happy, quite content, and had, could always go date and take a girl out and, had a lot of sex during the 70s. Okay, so where was I? Why was I talking about? Oh, because this was the book of poetry. So this book of poetry is about all that sex. So that was called Winter Flowers. So we went from autumn flavors, stuff dying and decaying, to winter flowers, which is flowers pop up through the snow and dying. So in other words, they're premature. They weren't meant to happen. Remember, I think I was talking about it in an earlier podcast where I was saying I think I should have had less sex. And I think that's what happened. I killed it by trying to make it into too much. It should have just laid low. Winter flowers, they're doomed to die. And then the next book after that was Spring Fevers, and that's where I had another 3 years, and now I'm in Los Angeles, and sex. I can go on. I got stories, never things that you don't know and are not even legal now that were going on back then, and it was a whole different world than exists like now. So anyway, the most perverted that Hollywood ever was, that's when I moved there. Okay, so I'm in Hollywood. Okay, so why was I talking about that? Oh, because that poetry I wrote during that year of living in perversion, or around within perversion. So then the next, that's spring. So we've gone from death and decay to early, premature love to sex to summer forever. That's where I get smart. So it seems like every decade I have some major enlightenment, and I actually get a little smarter. Hopefully a lot smarter, but I can kind of see the error of my ways and ways to improve my life and things I can do and things to focus on. And so that's what Summer Forevers is. That's kind of like the retirement phase, of that whole cycle. Then comes the death and decay again. So that's that cycle of birth and death. And anyway, but that's what I came up with back in 1974 in Bonita, California, probably after midnight, and writing this poem on my door, and I started this whole thing. And the whole concept was not just that I'm writing several segments of my life, but I'm saying that everybody's life happens in sections. But the sections can be anywhere from a year to 3 years or 10 years, and so the sections can vary in size. And that's what you got to kind of realize, is that if you look at your life, what are you in? Are you in decay? Are you in premature love? Are you in raunchy sex, overdrive? Or are you actually being smart and sharing and, kind of like helping share with all this that you're reaping and sowing or whatever it is. Anyway, so what phase of life are you in? You got those 4. And so anyway, that's what this poetry book is. Season of Force. Hey, I'm supposed to be plugging it. I got caught on a long story because a lot of images come into my head. So where were we? This one I put down. I'm not sure which girl. I can't take no more. I don't want to put it on anybody because I can kind of think of a few girls that it works for. All right. The Oboy music movie. And by the way, this is in the temptation period of the Kung Fu Cowboy spiritual rock opera metaverse. So any of the NFTs you buy off this album or whatever, or at least the songs, I don't know if we go by song. See, when I build each NFT, I can build in certain like codes, in terms of the style, color, finish, attribute, goal, status. I can apply these. And so I can actually put in levels, one of the things you can put in. So I can put in which level it is, 1 through 36. And so that makes it automatically, if it's scanned, which you can scan things on the Web3, it's scanned and it shows that it's that level, then boom, that you gain entrance. And so I'm hoping it's slightly automated. That's instead of people having to like slide the door and look through the window and say, whoa. All right, where are we up here? Arranged marriage. Now, my problem is I always start my relationships with love, and then from there they just peak and go. They burn hotter and hotter until they blow up. So that's kind of been my, I don't know if I call that my strategy, but my modus operandi. No, that sounds terrible. But the point being is arranged marriage, I think, is actually better than marrying for love. Allow me to explain. When you have an arranged marriage, that's an agreement between your parents and her parents. So there's a lot of parental support. Now, both of them are bound and obligated to make sure you succeed. They're not just approving it. They're basically creating it. So they're responsible for this marriage more. So that gives you a little bit more support, backup. So choose your in-laws wisely. It's not all sincerity. You get good in-laws, man. That's great, And hopefully your parents my parents aren't that great of in-laws for anybody else. I didn't have much to offer, but hopefully somebody else had more to offer than I did. But anyway, that's part of what makes a good marriage is an arranged marriage. And you can get these power couples and these arrangements and these businesses. This guy owns this fish shop and this guy owns this smoked shop, and they can combine and have the smoked fish shop. And so the merger of the families through marriage, who knows? But point being is that when you marry on this concept, you have basically the expectation of success of the family, of the business, which you want no matter what. Even if you started with love and it went terrible and you want a divorce, you really want to have some sort of success, but it's going to be very difficult. So why not have a marriage that's guaranteed, where the prime objective, the primary objective, is to have a successful family with a nice, stable financial lifestyle of some sort. And that would be very cool. That's what your foundation is. Now you add the love to that. So now, you could have it, hopefully put some love in there. So, but if it comes and goes, it doesn't matter because you're still going to be there for the long haul. So maybe you can have some more later. But the way you treat each other, now here's the trick on that though. If it's not monogamous, it'll never really work in a maximum. So no matter what, in that relationship, they should be monogamous. Even if there's a lack of sex, heck, you got the internet now. You're never alone. Never a lonely person. So anyway, what you want to do is make sure that they can always have respect for each other and always get together without any resentment. So if you could keep that out of the marriage, the resentment and dishonor, you've always got the chance of having love in there. So I think an arranged marriage with the parents totally involved and supporting of it is the ultimate marriage. And that's what I would go for. And I would always recommend anybody, if you can get that, then I think you'll have the best chance of having a really fun, profitable, successful marriage and family. And kids got babysitters. They're kind of built-in babysitters. They're kind of obligated now. All right, so where were we? Can love last 50 years? If you get married when you're 20, 50 is 70. I'm 71. couldn't last this long. But the point being is, can love really last 50 years? It would seem not, especially with women. That's a fallacy I said somewhere, where women are more faithful than men. They're not, and that's what I would, from my statistics, my observations. But anyway, the point being is that I just think it's really hard to be monogamous for more than 4 years. I think the longest that a marriage contract should be is 10 years. And at the end of the 10 years, then you can evaluate whether to continue it or discontinue it. And boom, it's all set, and the divorce parameters are all negotiated, so there's no argument, and everything should go really fine. Because all that time you're getting there, you're setting up and organizing things. Is this my category, your category, my bank account, your bank account? So everything, by the time you get to that point, everything's already separated. So if you want it that way, would be the more likely, successful, and less disappointing. Less chance, because you might ride it out that last few years. Have some sort of a bonus, in the divorce, that if you don't cancel early, you get this like extra $100,000 or $1 million or something. Okay, where were we? So that's Season of Force poetry book. So that's my first poetry over a 15-year period, or 10-year period anyway. And so I read it now, and it's like, wow, that's a whole different style of writing than I'm doing now. And even now, it's kind of changing a little bit. So I kind of evolved. So enjoy it. And that's me. That's me as a kid. My poetry as a kid. All right, can we get out of here now? So we're promoting the Oboy music movie and album, which you've already purchased. You have them both. And if you have a problem with it, let me know. Call me. It's basically, you wanted to do the music videos. I take all of them and I just select them, all of them, minus the picture. There's a couple other things in that folder, but just all the music video MP4s or whatever they are, and then I drag or cut and paste those into QuickTime or whatever it is on my computer, which is off right now. It makes so much noise, or the VST program, which Scott Carahadian put on my computer. It's got something like a cone with the orange and white stripes on it. VST. It looks like a parking cone or something you put out in the street. And that works really good. And so I just take them and I drop them into that, and it just plays them all in that order. You select them all and hit play. All right, we just got cut off by one of my alarms telling me half an hour to Tai Chi youth class, which is right. I was trying to squeeze this podcast in before the class, which I'm successfully doing. I was right at the very end of the darn tootin' podcast right here. So anyway, we're promoting the Oboy music movie and an album, which you have. You possess them right now, please. Come on. It's not that much money, and show a little respect or appreciation for me. I got through a lot of work. I got my whole life invested in these projects. So, a small little $20 is a small price to pay for the amount of investment I put into it. But I'm amortizing. But by amortizing, that means that you really need to put in about $100,000 to pay off all my bills. But, all right, where were we? The Temptation album by The Rich. It's actually Richard O'Connor and The Rich. That was my name. I was going by Richard O'Connor, and the backing band was The Rich. Which had Mike Thompson, who went to the Eagles, Jack Sherman, who went to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and John Merritt, who he was with me for many years. Okay, where were we? In the book, Season of Force. Get my poetry book. Get it paperback or something, and then let me know. I haven't printed it out. I got like 20 or 30 books, and I can't even afford to buy my own books. Because if you buy more books, I'll buy my own book too. But I can't afford it right now. Nobody buy my books. All right, so where are we? That's it. Can I say goodbye? And we're going to play that song. Which one was it? I Can't Take It No More. Now, I got a whole bunch of recordings of that song, too. This was a fun song to play. We went through periods of time, and we played it a bunch of times. Anyway, fun song. Love the drums. The drums are really, really, really good on this. All right, see you, bye.
Do you talk, talk? Ain't that a When